CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Mekovic.
Right now on the Afternoon Edition, day 6 of the federal government shutdown, and it is impacting Fleet Week here in the Bay Area, which starts today. Thanks for joining us. Here is where we stand right now on the government shutdown. More votes are scheduled for this afternoon, but the blame game continues on Capitol Hill. Senators are going to take up the same dueling spending measures that failed multiple times last week. Democratic leaders fault Republicans for not negotiating as they push for extending enhanced healthcare tax credits. The White House and Republican leaders insist Democrats reopen the government before tackling healthcare. If negotiations remain at a standstill, President Trump insists that he is prepared to move forward with mass layoffs. Back here in the Bay Area, it is the start of San Francisco Fleet Week. But with the ongoing government shutdown, the Blue Angels have been grounded and some Navy ships anchored. Despite this, events will still go on. Today, an oath enlistment ceremony was held at the War Memorial Veterans Courtyard across from City Hall in San Francisco. 90 recruits took their oath to serve the country, among them future sailors, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen.
In taking the oath of enlistment, they are pledging not only defend our country, but to uphold the ideals and freedoms that have defined America for nearly 250 years.
This is one of the first events kicking off Fleet Week. Veronica Macias has a look at what else is in store amid the government shutdown.
Later on Wednesday, there's the official news conference for the celebration of Fleet Week over at Fisherman's Wharf in partnership between the city and the armed forces, of course. You have the neighborhood bands that are a no-go for today and tomorrow. However, concerts are expected to start on Wednesday. Those are still on schedule. The San Francisco Fleet Week Association wants people to know there is still an incredible lineup as our city welcomes all the sailors and service members to take in the beautiful landmarks around San Francisco. So who's in the lineup? San Francisco is welcoming naval ships from both Canada and Colombia, replacing the absence of the Blue Angels. The Canadian Snowbirds, they're arriving later this week. The military aerobatics team flies 9 turbojets during performances, with speeds topping 350 miles an hour. In some formations, the jets are less than 6 feet apart. Then you have the Patriots jet team. They're flying private jets and carrying out impressive maneuvers in the sky. A Royal Canadian Navy coastal defense vessel is going to be open to the public for tours at Pier 19 starting at 9 a.m. Sunday. That's the Nanaimo making a final journey along the west coast of North America and soon will continue through Central America into the Panama Canal, then going to its final destination on the east coast of Canada. And to celebrate our friendship with Latin America, sitting in the Bay is the triple-mast flagship of the Colombian Navy arriving on Thursday. That is Ark Gloria. This ship is available to tour at Pier 15 and 17 starting at 2 p.m. Thursday and again over the weekend starting at 9 a.m.
And while it's still not officially clear whether the U.S. Navy will be able to send its ships or if the Blue Angels will take to the skies, one act that we know is set is the Acemaker T-33 looping across the sky. Our own Jessica Birch got to take a thrill ride with them back in 2022. For the latest impacts on Fleet Week, we have all the developments from Washington to the skies and waters of the Bay Area. Find us online at kpix.com and streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. All right, a first alert weather now, because it is a very warm Monday. 80s in the forecast for parts of the East Bay. And we could also hit 80 along the coast. Let's get over to meteorologist Jessica Birch. What are we looking at?
You know, it's funny because you hear 80s, and if you live off into the East Bay, you're like, what's the big deal? You live in San Francisco, and you're like, oh no, I don't have AC today, right? And here's what's happening for us as we head outside. It is a warm day for us. Daytime highs well above average, about 10 degrees above average, anywhere from Oakland across the Bay Bridge over into San Francisco. So as I turn on the temperature contour map, you're going to see a lot of red on this, showing above average conditions anywhere from the North Bay stretched down into the Santa Clara Valley too. Now for the numbers, we're talking about 80s today. Nothing too extreme for some of our inland spots, but yeah, for it being fall, this is definitely a more summer-like pattern. Upper 80s in Morgan Hill matched up with upper 80s off into the East Bay, all the way over into Antioch. I mean, we're talking about a 6-degree difference from Antioch stretched over into San Francisco. You don't see that this often, or that often, I should say, at least during these months as we get closer to winter. Now, along the coast today, it's a beautiful day to head out to the shoreline. Beautiful waves, warm weather. We're talking about 70s today from Pacifica all the way up in Half Moon Bay, past the Golden Gate Bridge up into the Marin Headlands. We're also gearing up for sunny skies this afternoon. Earlier this morning, we had offshore winds, but those winds are going to change direction, starting to push onshore as we head into the evening hours tonight. That does a couple things when it comes to relative humidity. I'll have more on that coming up in just a bit. What the rest of the week's looking like right around the corner for Fleet Week. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Jess. The group of protesters known as the Stanford 11 appeared in court today on charges stemming from pro-Palestinian demonstrations back in June of last year.
The students united will never be defeated.
A crowd outside the Santa Clara County Courthouse this morning to support the 11 current and former Stanford students. They are facing felony trespassing and vandalism charges after occupying the university president's office, demanding the school cut ties with companies linked to the Israeli military. Prosecutors say they caused up to $1 million in damage. A grand jury indicted the protesters last month, which allows the DA to bypass a preliminary hearing. One of the Stanford 11 took to the podium today saying his message is being repressed.
These corrupt government offices and university officials try to scare me, try to scare my fellow students. I'm not scared. I ask you to continue your steadfast support for Palestine until every Palestinian worldwide can live a life free of apartheid, genocide, and oppression.
When the DA first announced the charges in the spring, he said there is a difference between free speech and criminal vandalism. We're going to be following this story throughout the day. Kelsey Thorin is going to have more details on today's arraignment coming up at 6. President Donald Trump's backup plan to send California National Guard troops to Portland hit another roadblock this weekend. A Trump-appointed judge ruled the city cannot deploy any National Guard troops to Oregon from any state, including California or Texas. The ruling is a temporary restraining order, which expires on October 19th. Oregon officials recently sued the Trump administration, calling the deployment illegal. Earlier today, officials in Illinois and Chicago also filed a similar lawsuit. Early voting is on in California's special election on Proposition 50. It is the only issue on the November 4th ballot. The measure redraws some congressional districts here in California to counter the gerrymandering effort in Texas that aims to give more seats to Republicans. You can leave your ballot in one of the drop boxes or vote in person at election offices. On the Money Watch, 2 Bay Area companies just made a major deal. OpenAI and Advanced Micro Devices are joining forces. Santa Clara-based AMD says it will supply artificial intelligence chips to San Francisco-based OpenAI. The 5-year deal could bring in tens of billions of dollars in annual revenue. It could also see Sam Altman's company take a 10% stake in AMD. The agreement will challenge NVIDIA's market dominance. CBS News says a new editor-in-chief, Barry Weiss, is the founder of The Free Press. That is a news and opinion site that started in 2021 after Weiss famously left the New York Times. Paramount, which is our parent company, will acquire her publication for $150 million in a mix of cash and Paramount stock. Weiss will team up with CBS News president Tom Zebrowski to lead our news coverage. Wall Street Journal says as part of her role, Weiss will oversee a new debate-style program on CBS. Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area, using hairstyles to connect with heritage. We're going to meet a group of Bay Area women using braids to bring purpose. And let's take another live look outside before we head to break. The heat is on. Your full forecast coming up. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we recognize that braiding is not just a hairstyle, it's heritage with roots in Indigenous and Afro-Latino culture. It connects generations and preserves identity. And Gianna Franco met up with a group of Bay Area women bringing that legacy behind bars, using braids to uplift incarcerated women with confidence and purpose.
So right now, what I'm doing is called stitch braiding.
Dee Honey creates works of art by weaving strands of hair together.
And basically, with every piece of hair that I take in, I'm creating a sharp line to get these stitches.
But for her, it's more than just about a fresh braid for her clients. It's a skill she's sharing with others. Dee Honey is a freedom braider.
We meet a lot of different women from a lot of different walks of life, and we hear their stories and we relate to them.
A small group of volunteers who believe in the healing power of touch and human connection.
It's not just learning how to braid, it's building relationships, and it's a lot of healing that happens in the classroom.
A classroom that is happening in the San Francisco County Jail and Santa Rita Jail in Alameda County.
Braiding is a really valuable skill. It's something that you can make money off of legitimately, so why not give these people a skill that they can use when they get outside.
And what do you take away from it when you walk away after teaching in the jails?
After teaching in the jails, it feels like I have purpose. With being a braider and having a full day of clientele, I kind of got to a point where I was like, well, now what's next? And being in the jails makes me feel like I'm doing something greater than just doing hair. I'm doing something that's bigger than me.
One of the braiders said you can give someone a comb in a jail and that will keep them alive and free.
Joanna and her daughter Tatiana founded Freedom Braiders a year ago.
I want to say braiding has been part of our lives for a long time. I mean, my mom used to braid my hair in fishbone braids, which is like 4 strands. I mean, what really inspired is really seeing that there's not enough programming inside the jails for men and women. I have a brother who's incarcerated, so, anything we do inside the jails, we do it 10 times for everyone.
They also believe that teaching a skill can give someone dealing with difficult circumstances a second chance.
One of the braiders said it, this is your crown, and when you have someone touching your hair, there's all these also spirituality and cultural practices when it comes to touching someone's hair. And so the women have said, like, thank you for being gentle with me. Thank you for touching my crown and making me feel beautiful.
Especially in a place where personal identity and expression are stripped away. For some of the Freedom Braiders and women they teach, braiding is also a reminder of culture and family.
In the indigenous practices, they say healing one strand at a time through mind, body, and spirit. So everything we do is through culture.
Do you have a favorite braid?
Anything with color, anything like this. Anytime that I get to use different colored hair and tinsel and glitter, I have fun with it. It feels more like an art project than it is braiding.
An opportunity that allows her to weave together hope and community, one strand at a time.
And be sure to check out our 30-minute special for Hispanic Heritage Month. It is called Una Familia, airing on October 16th, 7:30 p.m. with Gianna and Len Ramirez. The first supermoon of the year is shining bright tonight, and it's just the beginning. It is one of 3 in 2025. It's going to appear up to 14% bigger and 30% brighter as it passes closer to Earth. You don't need a telescope, just clear skies. The next supermoons happen next month and in December. All right, back to our first alert weather now. Let's take another live look outside. Gorgeous shot of the Golden Gate Bridge there. And let's check back in with meteorologist Jessica Birch with more on these warming temperatures. Summer is just hanging on.
I know, summer just doesn't want to get rid of the Bay Area yet, right? Now, here's what's happening. It's wild to think that along most of the states, they're dealing with fall foliage, cooler weather. But today, our daytime highs once again throughout the Bay, and I'm turning on the temperature contour map just to kind of paint that picture. It's sitting above average by about 7 degrees all the way into San Jose, about 10 degrees in San Francisco. This is looking very similar from Monterey over into Santa Cruz, too. A couple other things to mention. I mean, you're talking about daytime highs sitting in the 80s today. It's going to be a warm one for us, especially along our coastal communities. 70s in Half Moon Bay, 80s into San Francisco. Not only is this above average, but it definitely feels more summer-like. And we've been dealing with these offshore winds too, keeping relative humidity pretty low along our coastal communities. You make your way all the way up into San Francisco, past the Golden Gate Bridge, up into the Napa, Sonoma region where harvest is at right now. It's a nice warm day for us today there too. But let's talk about some other things going on for us, because we kicked off this week nice and warm, and we'll continue to see that trend in our forecast tomorrow. But then we start to cool down as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, and by this weekend, just in time for Fleet Week, it's going to be a nice cool one for us. I mean, we're talking about 60s in San Francisco from Friday heading into Sunday. Mostly clear skies, which is great news not only this weekend, but I mean today and tomorrow too, just in time to look at the supermoon as we head into the evening hours tonight. A big bright moon, a beautiful week ahead of us, fall-like weather right around the corner. This is just a photo of the Canadian snowbirds taken by one of our producers here at the Weather Center. Now, as we see this weekend's forecast, it's going to stay nice and dry, but there is still some strong winds developing, especially into the afternoon hours today in places like Bodega Bay, San Francisco. This is the trend for us this week. Starting off the week a little bit gustier compared to normal, and then we'll start to actually cool down. We'll see those winds develop, pushing in from offshore more this weekend. That increases relative humidity. We'll see cloudier skies. We jump from the 90s to the 70s, for example, as early as Tuesday into Wednesday as low pressure moves in. And that's the trend for us as we wrap up this week, heading into this weekend. So summer-like weather to kick off this week, a little bit cooler as we wrap up this week. Once again, this is our inland forecast. I'll show you what we can expect coming up along the bay in just a little bit. Back to you.
Thanks, Jess. Japanese retailer Uniqlo is coming back to downtown San Francisco. According to the San Francisco Standard, Uniqlo is going to move into the former Old Navy flagship store on Market Street. Uniqlo's old flagship location on Powell Street closed down back in 2021. And this all comes amid a bit of a downtown resurgence with stores like Pop Mart and Nintendo opening up in Union Square. Well, coming up, it's not even Halloween yet, but retailers want us to start thinking about gift giving, how they're working to get your early shopping dollars. Well, Christmas is still 2.5 months away, but retailers are already pushing holiday shopping. Target, Kohl's, Best Buy, Amazon, and Walmart all have sales this week. NerdWallet says the good deals right now include outdoor grills, summer gear, and Halloween things. They advise to wait until Cyber Monday for electronics and don't buy clothes until after Christmas. That is it for the afternoon edition. Remember, we are streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Just go to Live and then choose Bay Area.